yes. Coffee Conversations with Greg J is on. All systems go. What it do, y'all? Greg J here, Coffee Conversations, where we have culturally relevant conversations on a variety of topics from a global perspective. There's some out there that might ask, why aren't we hyper local from Long Beach, where we originate from? We're intentionally global just because our studios are here in Long Beach. We reach out to Los Angeles a lot, Inglewood, New York City, Chicago, Detroit, across the world to Johannesburg, and that's where we're going to speak to today. A lot of you ask me about my trips to Africa. As you know, since 2010, have been taking tour groups over to South Africa. Been exploring West Africa the last couple of years, and established a lot of really great relationships. Being a radio broadcast veteran executive, really maintained a lot of great relationships with broadcasters across the globe. Because we do believe in building bridges of music, arts, and culture with Africa and African Americans. So a lot of y'all always ask me about, man, what's the music like? Of course, that's the second most popular question. The number one question is, what's the food like? But folks do ask me all the time about the music and the radio stations and all of that. And I was talking to a friend of mine who is a renowned broadcaster over there in Johannesburg, South Africa. I actually, when I started my trips to South Africa, I was getting online and listening to various radio stations across South Africa just to catch a vibe of what they were doing on the radio and all that. And I used to listen to this woman religiously. She was just so dope with her presentation. The music that she was playing was just so on point. And then when I finally made it over to one of my trips to South Africa, I surprised her and came in. I began to communicate with her by Twitter, right, at first. And then when I arrived in Johannesburg, I surprised her. We met face to face, and we've been great friends ever since. It's been some years now. So today we're going to talk about music, specifically South African jazz. Let's just bring her in live from Johannesburg, South Africa. Nonn Botha, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning.
Good morning to you, but it's evening this side. It's 11 minutes after 6 p.m. In Johannesburg, South Africa. Thank you for having me, Greg. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you for coming. I mean, man, it's always, we speak frequently on Facebook, but it's just always good to see your face and to have this one-on-one conversation with you as we talk about the music. First of all, how you been? You been okay?
I've been okay. I turned 45 2 days ago, so I'm feeling super grown up.
Happy birthday. Yes. All right. Really good. Nonn, I was really, you and I have had some music conversations as I reflect back on our conversations. We have talked a little bit about music and everything. And
Yes.
The other day you were sharing with me about, South African jazz. And a lot of people, while this might be kind of a far-reaching conversation for those of us in America, but let us just center the conversation on Hugh Masekela. Everyone here, we know Hugh Masekela, Grazing in the Grass. There's a few other tunes out there. We've seen him across the lexicon of Black music, specifically jazz in America. But what does Hugh Masekela mean to South Africa?
Look, he was the voice of, just like the likes of Mamira Makeba. He was that person that was proudly South African, proudly African, but also would take brand South Africa to the world. And as someone who I remember, it's the first time I saw him on television before I'd actually started my broadcasting career. He was someone who was exiled, but came back home and still spoke the language so well, and was still so proud. And he would, tell us stories about how when he got into the States, artists that he worked with was so proud of the fact that he's a man that's proud of being South African and telling South African stories. I mean, Johannesburg is a melting pot of so many different cultures. I mean, earlier on you talked about the food. In Johannesburg alone, you can find an Ethiopian restaurant, you can find a Congolese restaurant, I mean, you can find a Mozambican restaurant, and there was never a home. He was also for the young and old, and he wasn't ageist. I was having a conversation not so long ago with an amazing playwright, James Ngobo, who was good friends with Brayu Masekela, and also had him at the Market Theatre to do a show at the Market Theatre. That Brayu would speak to you, as though he met you just yesterday. And you speak to young jazz musicians that we have now, the likes of Billy Munama, the likes of an amazing young trumpeter, Mandla Mlangeni, and there's still that smile in their voice that Brahu was for them. He was always super hip. I don't know if you've heard his latest offering, Mango Tree, with the superior Deltones. So there is no family gathering. There is no, I mean, I was talking to you the other day about what's saddening me now is where you find South African radio not doing justice to playing more South African jazz music, where love is shown to artists, particularly jazz musicians, South African jazz musicians, only after they've died. So being a broadcaster, I still say we need more South African jazz music. I mean, yes, we are global, we Afropolitan, as my previous radio home, KFM, we used to say. We have brothers like you and the sisters that you bring through. But I would imagine you listen to South African music or Nigerian music to have a feel of the motherland. Yes, we grew up with the Donny Hathaways. We grew up with the Coltranes and the Miles Davis. I mean, I was telling Layla Hathaway graced our South African shores not so long ago, and I was telling her how it became a full circle moment for me because I used to listen to her dad, Donny Hathaway, and now here she is. The Diane Reeves of the world as well. But it's important that our children know Brahu Masekela's music. It's important that our grandchildren know their music. It's important that a young Bokani Dyer as well, who's a young jazz musician, understands and appreciates Brahu Masekela. He hated weaves, by the way. Brahu Masekela hated weaves. He wouldn't shake your hand as a man and as a woman. He wouldn't greet you if you're wearing a weave because he believed that as Black and brown people, we are beautiful as we are. So why not be proud of our music? And I still say, Greg, I don't know that side with radio stations, but here in South Africa, you have, for example, a mainstream radio station. It's saying goodbye to a jazz show. We have an amazing jazz broadcaster, who champions the jazz unity in South Africa. So she had a show on a Sunday night, and they've let her go. They're lost because guess what? She's joining us on 702. So
nice. Wow. Nonn, it's interesting. I got a chance to meet Brahu in the VIP after party of the Cape Town International Jazz Festival. It was really, really phenomenal to meet him and shake hands with him. And we had a gentleman with us that we actually he was becoming ill a little bit, and he brought his whole family with him. And he and I still talk about that day that we met him and how just really down to earth and way cool that he was to spend a lot of time with us in that party. And just, man, we talked about so many different things. Great music. I wanted to ask,
really was.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about this whole thing you just shared. All right. Y'all play a lot of American music on South African radio. And I listen to, because of the magic of the internet, I listen to South African radio, actually African radio in general, all day long, frequently. I just turn on my browser and I listen to Kaya FM. I listen to 702, I had a podcast called Afro Pop Radio where I wanted to really, and by the way, we're getting ready to relaunch that, y'all. So if you were fans of Afro Pop Radio, stay tuned. We have a couple of announcements there with that. But I wanted to share the music that I was hearing on the continent with our audiences here in
Yeah.
America. Not just the Afro beats that is so popular nowadays, Burna Boy and all that, but really the, Wanda
The
Baloney,
Tylers.
oh yeah, Zonky and all these different artists
Yeah.
I've discovered over there really to me need to be exposed over here.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I'll tell you the story. So I had a group, one of those groups I brought, and
Yes.
we were cruising in our bus to, around Johannesburg. We were going to one of our events. And
Yeah.
everybody says, well, Brother Greg, man, turn on the radio. Let's hear some of those radio stations that that you always talk about. And I turned on Kaya FM and they
Yeah.
were straight playing American hip hop. It was really disappointing because it was like, oh man, we could get that at home. We wanted to hear some Afro rhythms and everything. And it was
Yeah.
just very,
Yeah.
very disappointing. And I do know that the state broadcaster, South African Broadcast Corporation, at one time put a directive that a certain percentage of the playlist should be African music. Why do
Yeah.
South African radio stations play so much American music?
That's a very good question, and I think it's up to broadcasters like us and a lot of South Africans to really, blow power to the nation's consciousness with the music choices that we make in terms of playing. But we need program managers. Some salespeople would say in radio that, oh, the listenership is going down because people want the nostalgia of, oh, I grew up listening to Donny Hathaway, I grew up listening to who's in South Africa now, Jeffrey Osborne. There's also just, I mean, Freddie Jackson was here not so long ago, but also I think it's up to promoters as well to have a variety. If Jeffrey Osborne is coming and the Whispers are here, let's have the Nomfundo Mos, the young Loiso. I mean, the young man Loiso, people only here at home started noticing him after he was invited to Brooklyn Beckham's wedding to sing. And this is a young man that's been here at home doing his thing. And I also actually just have a bone to pick with Black China's mom, who's saying that our Tyler is just came out of nowhere. My daughter, who's 16, can tell you that Tyler has been creating music here at home. She's been working hard. She's been grinding. So, okay. But yeah, thank you for the Grammy nod. But what you are saying really, really, really is something that we, as not just South African broadcasters, but also South Africans, to champion the nation's consciousness with our music, our Mbakanga, Ladysmith Black Mambazo, back to jazz, you have the Nomfundo Kaluvas, you have Asiya Makuzeni, you have Wanda Baloyi that you just mentioned, who's got an amazing voice. You heard, I mean, Mam Sibongile Khumalo, right? The late Mam Sibongile Khumalo.
Yes, yes.
And she was amazing. But we only really show love once they're gone. And that's got to change. That has got to change.
I met Sister Khumalo and I was in the Zulu Kingdom for the South African Traditional Music Awards. And I was there, which by the way I think I've gone to 4 of them, and
yes.
It was for me as a Black American one of the most tremendous African experiences I've ever had in my life. Just being in the Zulu Kingdom, being around the traditional dress. Oh my goodness! So I'm in the VIP place, and I'm walking one way, and Sister Khumalo's walking another way, and I was like, wait, you're Sibongile Khumalo. And she like blushed so much. She was like, you know me? I was like, oh my God, yes, And I was honored to meet her. But man, what a great songbird she was, for sure.
What a great songbird she really, really was. You have the mum Yvonne Chaka Chaka as well. Sis Yvonne Chaka Chaka, Mama Africa. But Greg, what the story that you just related now, I'll be telling my listeners about it. And you and I have had this conversation where you say, what is going on? So I could say I'm fortunate, and then to be in a space now after so many years in broadcasting, where it's a dialogue that one can have with the programs manager, with the music manager, to say these are the songs, because I'd like to stand for something. Yes, I was inspired, and I still continue to be, because your history as African Americans is the same history that we have as South Africans of apartheid. The challenges you have now as a black brother and a brown sister are the challenges that we still have. 30 years into democracy, we cannot be having a conversation and fighting for breadcrumbs for our voices to be heard.
Yeah. Wow, that's a true statement right there. Man. Let me ask you a question. You took me to a restaurant one time that I still that was
Maboneng, pata pata. You remember Mam Mira Makeba's song Pata Pata, that
Pata.
iconic song Pata.
Yes.
So the restaurant that I took it is called Pata Pata in Maboneng. Yeah. Right in the heart of Jozi.
I mean, that was really a great memory, and I can't wait to go back there again. But let me ask you, like when you saw me in there just enjoying that space, I mean, I really felt like, okay, now I'm in it. I'm not a tourist. I'm in the middle of the with the people and everything. What makes that space so special? And then the music that was there, how do the people who live there, the locals, I'll just say, uh, you know, tell us what is so special about a space like Pata Pata.
Okay, so I took you to Pata Pata. You will remember that there were a lot of people that are younger than you and I. So I wanted to just get you the hip side of Jozi, of Johannesburg. But next time you come, I'd like to take you to a restaurant that Brahiu Masekela loved so much. In many interviews, he's talked about it, and I hope in September you'll come through. He loved the oxtail, the soul food of Nikki's Oasis. Now, Nikki's Oasis is a jazz restaurant in Newtown. Newtown is a cultural precinct. Newtown has the Market Theatre, which has been amazing for storytelling. It's got the John Kani Theatre. John Kani, who was in Black Panther, who's one of the best storytellers that we have in the country. So Brahiu loved going to Nikki's Oasis. The likes of Moses Taiwo Muleleko loved going there. But what I love about Nikki's Oasis as a live jazz setting, it's where the elders have walked, and you will know as Africans how sacred it is to still connect with our elders, with our African spirituality. You've got now people like Nduduzo Makatini, who recently performed there, and he was also just relating of the fact that Brahiu Masekela performed here, and he used to hang here, and now the younger people are there. But I find that the government in our country, in terms of preserving jazz spaces like Nikki's at the Newtown precinct, it's like, it's an afterthought, and that really breaks my heart. So next time you're in Newtown, so there'll be Nikki's Oasis, and then for great storytelling, I'm going to take you to the Market Theatre as well. So we'll watch a play. Come with your grandson. We'll watch a play. Because really 30 years into democracy, the Market Theatre is also telling amazing stories. They just, right now, they've got a play about the cry of Winnie Mandela, Mama Winnie, may she continue to rest in power. And then there'll be the food, and there's always live jazz music from the elders and the young ones at Nikki's Oasis.
Nice. We were talking a couple of days ago about arts and culture and the role of government. And, you were sharing with me that you have noticed that I'm the board president of the Arts Council for Long Beach. And thank you so much for your congratulations. It has been a really great experience for me. And, I'm learning quite a bit about advocacy to government. In support of our arts and culture. We really do believe like arts programs in schools oftentimes get cut and everything, you got to really communicate with the state government, um, which is like your province. Yeah, like your provinces are states. So, make
Yeah.
that the state puts adequate resources behind, preserving arts education in the
Yes.
schools, making sure that venues are staying open, making
Mhm.
sure that people get grants, artists get grants in order to do the work so that artists can get paid, they can get the
Yeah.
supplies, do what they
Yeah.
need. And I will tell you that it is a difficult proposition in the United States. We know that as we are faced with the presidential election year, that the
Mm.
conservatives do not really, it seems, let me say it like this, it seems
It
as if the
seems.
conservative side doesn't value arts and culture as much as, say, the more liberal folks. They don't see this as a valuable service to
Mhm.
community, especially as we come out of COVID. But we would argue the
Mhm.
fact that arts is essential, and
Arts is essential.
yeah,
Yeah.
to mental health, to just so many things. I mean, arts in schools helps people achieve better academics. It's just on and on and on and on that you can find the benefits of arts and culture. And you were asking me how, government could be more aware, I guess, of
Yeah.
arts and culture. And that really does require someone, representatives in parliament, that's going to champion arts and culture, that understands the legacy that we're discussing on this morning. Is
Yeah.
there a Ministry of Arts and Culture in South Africa?
There is the Minister of Arts and Culture. There is in Gauteng, our province, there's the Department of Arts and Culture, but it's conversations where emails are sent.
Mhm.
Sometimes you run in the street, you see the particular official, and you're like, come and check us out. This is what we're doing for kids in the inner city. This is what we're doing for the elders. Mental health is a problem in our community. So be a part of this, and let's preserve our stories. We can't just have children finding out, or history being scrapped. Why is history being scrapped? We can't have history being scrapped. Let's recharge the art of storytelling for our children and our grandchildren and our great grandchildren. Someone like you, Masikela, inspired so many younger generations because, like I said earlier on when you started the conversation, he had lived abroad, made friends abroad in the States, and the Harry Belafontes helping them, and the Mam Miriam Makebas fighting apartheid through what? Through music. And he came back home to build the arts and give back and champion the arts.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, that's really, really important. And we got to tell our own stories. As you're speaking just now, I'm thinking, you know, 30 years of democracy, there's got to be a paradigm shift in education, in awareness, because I guess your school system would probably be more British based in terms of what they teach in the school system. And then now that you're free, right? You have all of these stories that probably were told verbally in the community, right? But not taught in the school system. Much like here in America, I made a post on Facebook because I was just kind of, for some reason I came across this. There was this book. So in our community, in my day, we had Ebony magazine every month.
Yes, I
We
remember Ebony magazine. We also had it in South Africa.
Yes, we were looking forward to get Ebony, and my mom
We had Drum
would
magazine.
get recipes out of there. And then because she made us read so much, she would order books and
Yeah.
everything. And when I was a young child, she ordered this book called Before the Mayflower, which talked about
Mm.
African kingdoms and everything. And I can honestly
Yes.
say that that is the piece of literature that awakened my Black consciousness more than anything else, when she gave me
Aha.
that book. And it obliterated, the things I was learning in the school system. Is it the same where you're hearing stories nowadays that are like, yo, they didn't teach us this in school? Do you have that same type of experience?
Greg, I was fortunate. in that, like, I was born in '79, and I grew up in Everton, which is not far from. I mean, a few days ago, it was what's now called Human Rights Day, and that was actually Sharpeville Shooting Day, where Black people were marching against the oppressive system of carrying the ID book, their Dompas, and the police of the past just shot and killed people. So history books say 69 people died. And now even that day is now called Human Rights Day instead of Sharpeville. These are the atrocities that happened on that day. So it now shows that, and what's funny is that professors from a friend of mine who's part of the Sharpeville Foundation was on television, and it's a conversation that I have had with her because I am from the Val, and also because my stepfather's father was one of the young men who was killed on that day, but his name is not in the book. He was a young man who was 24. My stepfather was only 3 years. His younger sister was less than a year old. He was killed on that day. So I have been talking to her to say, please look for because now these professors from the States found out that actually the number now sits at 95. But when I add my grandfather, my father's, it's hard to even call him my stepfather because he raised me since I was 5. And he's one of my best friends. So his father, who's not in the names, is one of the people that was killed. He was a young man who was living in Everton but had gone to Sharpeville and was shot and killed. And this is history that our kids don't know. We need more storytellers. We need more books for history to be corrected. So you find our children questioning now as well to say, but there's more to the stories of Shaka Zulu. There's more to the name of the street. Street names are being changed. But let's do more than just change street names. Let the children in the classrooms know what happened. We had a TRC commission. I mean, South Africa is a lot of people say the TRC commission. We had a peaceful transition, right, into where we are now. But 30 years down the line, there's just been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of talk and nothing in action. And I think the Ministry of the Arts needs to come to the party, because young people now, our children, because my generation is not like my mother's generation, and them were not they were not like Winnie Mandela a lot. We are the Winnie Mandela. We are the Winnie Mandelas, and we're saying she has multiplied. Yeah. So let's tell the truth. Let the history books tell the truth. Let's not just do what the TRC did. It did what it had to do, but then it also made some people just went there to say, I'm sorry. Sorry for what?
Right.
I can't heal if I don't know what you did to me.
That's interesting, because I in the United States, we have now the discussion about critical race theory, whereas I'm going to share with you, though, you are the same age as my daughter. So
what? I'm an old soul. Most of my friends are in their 60s.
So, I'm a child of the civil rights movement. And, when I look back over history in the whole United States history, you can see time and time again, there's just certain things that folks don't want these stories to be told. The Tulsa massacre in 1921. I mean, there's many, many, many massacres that you can point to, and these were whispered among Black folks. Your mom and your aunties and your grandma and them would talk about these things, but they weren't in the history books. Nowadays, with the internet, and we have more access to information, more educated folks who are researching and publishing books and everything, making movies about certain situations. But there is a loud voice of folks and in government that do not want these stories to be told. There's now book banning going on across the country, and it's just really, really crazy. But these things happened, and these stories have to be told, and they have to be
for their children. Yes, for the children to know where. Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you hear from, look, it's more white folks hear that there are more black folks over there than white folks. But do you hear like your white brothers and sisters, like they don't want to hear it, or they get, are they,
No, actually,
or do they want to hear it?
my circle, they want to hear it.
Mm,
It's a conversation that wants to be heard. It's a conversation of, I mean, little things of, uh, that you can't say such things to me as a black person. That's not cool. So they do want to hear it. I must
mm,
say they do want to hear it.
mm,
And there are those that are willing to say, where can I help?
mm.
I want to just touch on, and because I shared this with my family members and my children,
Yeah.
when you were here, it was, I mean, I've heard it in movies, I've seen it in movies where an African American comes home, comes to Africa, and it's like the motherland. But I I remember I think it was Will Smith when he came to South Africa years ago and he met Nelson Mandela, and he talked about how he had never in his life seen so many black people, so many people that look like him. And I remember with you, I mustn't get emotional here. I remember with you at the restaurant where we were sitting on, and you were seeing so many people, and you said, I see my brother, he or she reminds me of so and so. And seeing that, I whew, I was so sad because of really the history of the slave trade. And I was so happy also that you are feeling at home.
Mm.
You felt at home. And when I told my son, and my daughter, and I told my aunts and my uncles as well, and they said next time when he comes, he must come to a mukiti, a gathering where you have our traditional food, not just at a restaurant. And I said, no, but he comes with people, like he brings a trip. So will we be able to feed all these people? And he said, they're all coming home. So yes, we will be able to, there'll be enough pap and ting and morojo for everyone.
Nice, nice. Yeah. It is, I got to tell you, it is very, 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 very uncanny whether I've gone to South Africa or West Africa, as you know, and you mentioned before we went on the air here that you're like, yo, you haven't been south in a long time. Yeah, we've been exploring, West Africa, and it's the same thing. The uncanny thing is when we go to Africa, we will see,
Yeah.
first of all, a ton of black people. Everybody looks like us. That's not like here, okay? Like everybody.
Yeah.
But then you see people that are not only resemble your friends, but could be their twin, look exactly like you'll be sitting somewhere and you're saying, hey, it's really, really, really crazy. And, uh, I was talking to a friend of mine.
Oh, I'm
He was in
losing
New
you.
York City, and she was saying, they took us from Africa and they took our languages, everything like that, but they couldn't take our faces. And I
They
always,
could, yeah.
because it's really uncanny when you see your twins, your friends twin there in Africa. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, so it's amazing, amazing. I saw a guy that I remember when I was working at KJLH Radio, owned by Stevie Wonder, one of our young assistants. The last time I was in
Hey.
Ghana, I saw
Oh.
her twin, and I was like, "Hey, there's Shanice." It was just really, really something. Hmm. Really, really something. All right, so now
I
let me
was
just
losing you there a bit there, Greg. The connection.
Okay, okay. I think we got it back though. I saw it glitch a little bit.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Uh-oh. I tell you
I
what.
can hear you now. I can
You
hear
can-
you now.
Okay, good, good, good. Now, okay, look, Cape Town International Jazz Festival. Let's talk about the jazz scene
It's
there.
back.
It's
It's
back.
back. It's
Ah,
back. It's back.
yes. So why did they wait so late to announce it?
I think administration challenges, maybe I might be wrong, but I think administration challenges. Um, and I think since COVID, I mean, things have not been easy
Right.
for the arts everywhere in the world.
Mhm.
Um, But yeah, it's back. The Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival, which is produced by T Music Man, has been going on. I discovered one artist from Mozambique, Morera Chongisa. Morera
Mm.
Chongisa. Please
All right.
check him out when you have time.
Okay.
Um, he was amazing. And then we've got Mandla Mlangeni, please do check him out as well. We've got Bokani Daya, who's does Radio Sichaba. He's got his father as well, who's a musician, Steve Daya. Oh, and my favorite, Upet Mkoy Mkhubata. Let's see if you can say Mkhubata.
Khubata. Khubata.
Let's see if you can say Ikama Kulivumile.
Yeah, okay. Oh man, I have to think about that one for a minute. I mean, you know what? The language is really, really. Um, I try.
You know,
I try also all that. I practice, but I got to get. I got.
you look. We're happy the jazz festival is back. It's in May. But we really would like to see, like I said, I'm really passionate about preserving live jazz spaces because every night should be a jazz night. Every night should be a jazz night because it also just helps the creative economy. Because when there's jazz, there's food.
We were going to the Orbit Jazz Club for some
That
time.
closed.
It closed.
Yeah, that closed. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. But the one that you recommend is
Nikki's Oasis in Newtown. It was Bra Hughes. It was Bra Hughes' favorite. The oxtail there. Sis Nikki says that Bra Hugh wasn't a big eater, but when he would eat, he would enjoy the oxtail there. I, for one, like the tripe. I like mochodu. We call it mochodu.
tripe.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, we know about tripe around here. Yes, we do. Listen, let me ask you this. All right, let's talk about some of the traditional genres because I mentioned to you about the South African Traditional Music Awards.
Yes.
Began to go there, and I actually met the brother here in the States. He stopped by the radio station. And, he was asking the receptionist, he needed certain things. And he was from Africa and she didn't know what to do. And she's like, okay, let me go get Mr. Johnson. And because he's all things Africa, talk to this guy. So I take him in our conference room and he was explaining that he had a delegation of broadcasters from the SABC.
Greg, I missed you there. Okay, hello?
Hear me there? Okay. Can you hear me?
I miss. You were saying?
Okay, yes, I was talking about when this gentleman from the SATMA Awards came to the United States. This is how I met him. And he, needed some things, and I was able to help him out with getting his broadcasters together. Long story short, we were able to begin to have cultural exchanges with the broadcasters. We rented a recording studio in Hollywood. We brought the broadcasters there. We catered soul food. We had different, musicians that we knew come in and play music for them. They had this young man one year with them, and he was very quiet. And they kept trying to encourage him. Well, show them what you do in South Africa. Show them what we do. So finally, he takes his laptop and we put it on the big screen. And it's a ginormous stadium in Zululand, and people are going crazy for him singing his music. And he's the Maskandi music. Do you know this music?
I love Maskandi because my partner is Zulu and he loves Maskandi music. So you've got there's the young man now Kuzani, there's Ihashlem Shop.
Kuzani.
Kuzani, yes. So there's the Kuzanis, there's and then I love also Ihashelim Shope. And there's a young lady now, Luan Lunkulu. So you also have, with the hip hop, you have our kids singing, rapping, not singing, my son would kill me, in Setswana. There's a young man called Maklera who's just rapping in Setswana. We had the late hip hop Pantsula who did a cover of Imagination's Music and Lights, Jaba. But also just how important it is that these kids are inspired by the hip hop, but now doing it in their native language.
Mhm.
So I love that. I love that I'm seeing that a lot.
So do these genres like Maskandi and then the hip hop that sings in their native language, do they find influences from jazz and all of that? Like, do you hear them? Can you make
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
connection to jazz like you can here?
You can, you can. I mean, and then there's Amapiano. And you know, you will know Amapiano has just taken the world by storm. You
Yes,
look at that TikTok platform.
yes,
There's always the dance challenge. There's always an Amapiano song and
yes.
flavor to it. So yeah, you have young people that are inspired by jazz,
Wow.
South African jazz. Yeah.
All right. Now, what about some of the old school artists that are is Jonas Gangwa still around?
Well, he passed on, but the
Yeah,
music is still alive.
but the music
Yes.
is still alive.
Uh, the music is still alive. You have also Ndate Kefa Siminya, and who's worked with with Quincy Jones.
Mhm,
Who they've got an academy as well. Yeah, you've got Mamle Tambulu.
mhm.
You've got Super Hot Sticks Mabuse. I remember you used to enjoy the song Burn Out
Yeah,
All My Love. Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, we still jamming to Brenda Fassie. We still
Ah,
Time magazine called her the Madonna of the townships, and she was like, "I'm bigger than Madonna."
wow. Yes, yes, yes. You know, it's so funny. I mean, I remember all of those jazz artists so much, and I mean, the music is just incredible. And y'all, I'm going to drop a playlist off of YouTube in the chat when we get this going here, so that you guys can discover some of the artists that are out there. I remember the old club. It was in Cape Town. It was called the Mahogany Room. I don't know if you
Yeah.
know that club, but boy, that was my first jazz club, I think, that I went to in South Africa. And it was just really, really phenomenal. And the brother's name, his last name is Mkz. I can't remember his first name, but he's a pianist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can't. I mean, Dollar Brand Abdullah Ibrahim. He'll be performing. He's doing the final tour. So he'll be performing as well in April at the Sunbet Arena. You cannot have a conversation about South African jazz music, and not include Dollar Brand Abdullah
Mhm,
Ibrahim in
mhm,
that conversation. One of my
mhm,
favorite songs that he's done is Manenberg. Love Manenberg.
mhm, mhm, mhm. What about Hilton Schilder? Is he how famous is he?
Well, I'm sure some people, but like I haven't. No, I would hear people playing his songs, but I'm not so big on that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was just wondering, because part of our tour, when we were bringing people over, part of our tours, we had something called the Jazz Safari. And when we would
Oh,
go,
yes, I remember that. I
very,
remember that.
we were going into the different, into the townships in Cape Town, and the sister would, prepare food for us. And then, it was the home of a musician, and they would play for us. One was Tempe Blackie. I don't know if you remember
Ah,
him, and he passed away. I found out not too long ago.
yeah. Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Uh,
There's also you know Winston Mankunkungozi's Yakalinkomo. It's
mhm,
been covered by a number of artists, and you have to. It's a classic.
mhm,
And the younger ones now. There's also, I mentioned Nomfundo Kaluva and
mhm,
Siyama Kuzeni. There's Zoe Mudiga. Now
mhm,
she gives me a blend of Mam Spongile Kumalo and Sis Brenda Fassi on stage. She's
mhm,
fire.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Now, what about? I know Zonky is more, I guess, R and
Oh yes,
B. So she's
yes,
kind
we
of
love Zonke. We love Zonke. She's super cool. Her sister used to be a musician as well, Lulu Digana. The sister passed on. And
uh,
I remember one night I was interviewing Zonke, and Lulu was I was still at KFM at the time. And I said, will we ever have a collaboration between the two of you? And Lulu was the first to answer to say no. I do music differently, and my sister does music differently, but yes, immensely talented, the Digana sisters. Yes, we still love Zonke, Afro Soul, she's a number. And then dance tunes, Mafiki Zolo, they
Yeah,
still make people dance. Like it's not a wedding, it's not a party, it's not a groove
yeah.
without Mafiki Zolo. Dihamba now.
Let me tell you two stories. All right. Mafiki Zolo came
Yeah.
to they came to Los Angeles. I was working at the radio
What?
station and I could not believe that they were there. I was so excited, and I was trying to get the radio station to interview them. Was like, "Yo, you guys don't know these; they're huge in South Africa. They're huge
Yes.
across the continent." And everybody's looking at me like, "Yeah, okay, whatever, whatever." So I had to
Yeah.
record them, right? I had to record them.
Yeah.
They didn't put them on. They didn't put them on the air. They just really didn't realize who they were. Um,
Yeah.
and then Lyra,
Oh, Lyra is amazing, and she's so resilient. She
yeah,
had a stroke about a year ago. She's back.
yeah,
She performed a few days ago on her birthday.
nice.
She, and you know, Lyra is, besides Lyra being such a sweetheart, but she's a born performer.
Yes, yes, yes. Now, let me tell you, I have had Lyra on one of my stages, one of my shows I produced. 4th of July, she came and she did the show there. We have become friends. I talk to her every now and again. I check in on
Yes,
her.
that's awesome.
So that's my buddy right there. And then I arranged for her to be on the stages of one of the universities has a jazz festival out here
Yes.
that's growing and emerging, and it's and they had called me and said, well, what kind of we want African artists, what who should we have? And I told them Lyra,
Yeah.
Rocky Daouni out of Ghana, and there's a brother who lives here in LA, but he's from the Congo, Ricardo Limvo,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they booked all of those, and Lyra came to that was the very first one. There weren't many people in attendance, but that was their first one out. Now it's becoming a really
Yeah.
thing. But I was really saddened when I heard that she had a stroke, and I was checking in on her. And I'm really
Good.
happy to hear you say that
That
she's
she's
now
back.
performing and everything. Really happy.
Yes, she is. She is. She is.
Nice, nice. Yeah. Same thing with Lyra. So Lyra came to the radio station and
Yeah.
they just kind of like, okay, Greg, whatever with her. It's like, dude, she's like Beyonce big in Africa, man. It's like
Yes. Yes.
it's really, really huge. It's so funny how you see what can we do. I'm sitting here thinking of solutions, right? And so we're talking about jazz, and we've shared a lot of names with the audience today, and now
Hmm.
we don't have to rely on these corporations and these music programmers. We can create our
Yes.
own podcasts and exchange
Absolutely.
music, and build the reputation of these artists from the ground up. Certainly with Lyra, certainly with Zonke, just so many people. How can we spread the word about contemporary jazz, R&B, and soul music from South Africa?
I think, Greg, with platforms like yourself and the community that you have, that is invested in getting to know their motherland better. And you can only really know your motherland better. I mean, I have yet to meet someone that doesn't love music.
Hmm.
I really have yet to meet someone that doesn't love music. When we had Layla Hathaway, for instance, so before she came, they invited the media, and my previous radio MD, Greg Maluka's company, was actually responsible for bringing her. So uh, obviously, I was invited
Yeah.
and having the conversation with her, and she said all she has to do is hum, and from a grandmother to a young child, they'll be able to connect that way. So, I mean, the challenges we have in South Africa, in Africa, actually, in the continent, more people are having phones now. There are more people that have access to a mobile phone now, but a lot of our people still can't. There's abject poverty in our country. I mean, you've been in Santon with your group, and a few minutes down the street is Alexander, where there are people that still, 30 years into democracy, don't have access to the toilet, don't have
Mm.
access to a running water. So data is expensive.
Mhm.
But I think now that the access to cell phones becoming cheaper, platforms like what you're doing with a podcast, me being here, you inviting me onto this platform to share the music, to share the stories, and going to our embassies to have a conversation to say we are doing this with the LA Arts Council. We've got young jazz musicians from Soweto, from Alexander, from Sharpeville. And also there's the stories. Because I was having a conversation with another broadcaster who loves jazz. This is Brenda Sisani. We've got International Jazz Day coming. And um, where it's a question of let this happen twice a year, where there's a group of African Americans coming to Africa, going to Nigeria, and there's an exchange program.
Mhm.
And those kind of things, where it's also the storytelling, the orators. Let's go back to storytelling, where the grandmother from Sharpeville, who's now in her 80s, who was shot at 18.
Mhm.
I mean, I was fascinated when I was talking to a friend of mine who's a playwright, who said, can you imagine you are telling the story of your grandfather who was 24, who was killed on that day? Maybe there was a young girl who was going down by the river to meet her lover, and she didn't make it, or he didn't make it. And he decided to, because there weren't cell phones back then, and he felt that, oh, she probably went out with another guy. What a beautiful human story that is.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's the connection of just us as Ubuntu, as
Mhm.
human beings connecting. Yeah,
Mhm.
so we need to have more platforms like this. We need to have conversations with our embassies and corporates as well, that say, because the thing is that gets to me, Greg, is always the sad story about Africa. Like, oh, the poor people in Africa. Oh my
Mhm.
God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where, you know, oh
It's-
my God, they have jazz clubs. Oh my God. I mean, be honest, haven't you had people that come to the tour, and their hotel room, they're like, I didn't know they have places like this here.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to tell you that when we do our survey at the end of the tour, that is the number one continent. Brother Greg, they don't show us this Africa in the United
Oh,
States
look at
every
this.
single
Right.
time. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So good. Nonn Botha, thank you so much for joining us this morning, or this afternoon, this evening, today.
The time was, thank you so much, Brother Greg. Enkosi Ndiabulela. Thank you so much. That was, thank you so much in Xhosa. Enkosi Ndiabulela.
Hey, yay. All right. Good, good stuff. Now, look, how can we get a hold of you? Where shall we look for you? Where can the people find you?
Thank you so much. Long live jazz!
All right. Tell them where we can find you, like online. Where can we listen to you? What's your deal? How can we get with Nonn Botha?
Okay, so I am on 702. And you can, download the 702 app, or you can live stream. So it's one of the prime media radio stations. I'm on 702. I'm on the music side of things. We're a talk station. So I am part of the lifestyle brand of the station. I'm on every Saturday, 2 to 6. And this will be my last Sunday, 4 to 7. From the 7th from the 7th of April, I'll be on 2 to 6 on both weekends. Yeah. And
Nice,
we're about to have Good Friday, so that means more music.
nice, nice, nice. My friend Omar Essex
and
used to be the
and I'm
CEO.
on Instagram, and I'm on TikTok
Okay, all right.
and Facebook.
You can put all that in the chat so you can connect with our sister
Thank
Nonn.
you. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye, Greg.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, y'all. Coffee Conversations with Greg J. This is what it is. Nonn Botha live from Johannesburg, South Africa, talking about jazz and then just music in general, arts and culture exchange. We're going to continue to work with our friends like Nonn across the world as we advocate for the arts, advocate for culture from our perspective. Maybe we can find out and how we create exchange programs. We've done a few over the years. We've done a few with Africa. We've brought broadcasters here to the United States. We've gone over there to explore the nuances of arts and culture. Nonn Botha is one of the premier broadcasters in Johannesburg, the largest city in South Africa. She is an awesome broadcaster. She is incredible. When you listen to her, I think you'll enjoy her style. Very intelligent young woman, as you can see. We've had a lot of fun together. She's shown me quite a few things culturally around Johannesburg, and certainly over in South Africa. Go ahead and look her up, Nonn Botha of Radio 702, Johannesburg, South Africa. You can get Coffee Conversations across our Facebook pages, Coffee Conversations with Greg J. That's the Facebook page. My personal Facebook page, Greg J. Columbus Coffee Company, Hannibal Media Group, Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com. You can also see it live or the replay, I guess I could say, on YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help our algorithms grow in that area on the YouTube channel. Also, beachcityradio.com. We do repurpose the audio so that you can listen to the audio wherever you get your favorite podcast. iHeart, iHeart, Podcast Bean, Spotify, Google, just wherever. Just type in Apple, Coffee Conversations with Greg J. It'll pop up. And for your listening pleasure, you'll see all of our episodes out there. Always remember to love one another, y'all. Love one another, because love is in need of love today across the world. Love one another. Peace and blessings.